Today I engraved some glass, but unfortunately I ended up breaking it after I finished. But I'm going to show you the process anyway. So I used some stencil stuff to put this ship on here, and this is a Sailor Jerry flash that I have up on my wall at the shop. I just put it on basically like I would a stencil on the skin. It's just a little bit more delicate because the glass doesn't fully absorb it. It just has to dry. I let this dry overnight. I used some breathing and eye protection because I'm going to be engraving glass, and I don't want to be inhaling powdered glass, which I guess is technically sand, but either way, I don't want it in my body. So this is very, very similar to actually tattooing. I really enjoyed it. My Dremel is pretty junky, so it did get really hot during, but this is the outline after I got all finished with it, and then I swapped out the bits to do some of the shading. This is really satisfying and fun, but something I had to do is I had to keep taking breaks because my hand was burning from the Dremel because it was so hot. But here I am, super proud of what I did. I'm cleaning it off, making sure that it's all clean to put on the black background. And I go to frame it. And when I went to frame it, since this is one of those slide in the back type of frames, you have to staple it or nail it. And I guess just the shock of the staple gun did this. So give me an idea on what to do with this. I'm disappointed. Yesterday, I broke this piece of glass that I engraved with a ship that I was super proud of because it took me a while. It was my first time ever doing it. This is what it looked like in the frame, but then I had to take it all out of the frame and clean up the glass a little bit. And then somebody suggested that I put gold in between the cracks. So I had this gold leafing kit kind of laying around that I never used before, and it turned out really cool. I don't think I did it right, but it is what it is, and it looks good. So I put it all back in the frame, and it looked really cool. But somebody else suggested that I put epoxy resin in there, so then that way the glass didn't break any longer. There I am looking like a mad scientist. So I poured it all over this because that made sense to me. And then very quickly I realized that that was a bad idea because the ship disappeared. But I decided just to continue with the process and get all the bubbles out. And then this morning I looked at it, and once it cured, this is what it looked like. No more ship at all. It was very, very faint. So I decided to get these markers, and I was going to put another stencil on top of there. It's the same exact stencil, and then outline it with the white because it looked good with the white. But as soon as I started outlining it, I realized I made a grave mistake. All of the white lines were turning purple because of the stencil. I don't know why I didn't think of that. So what I decided to do was put more gold leaf where the crack was. I'm putting more resin on top of it, and then tomorrow I'm going to trace white on top of it. So stay tuned, and we'll see how it turns out. Day 3 of trying to fix this piece of broken glass that I engraved a ship on a few days ago. This is what we're looking like this morning. All the resin has cured, and everything's still purple. I was going to use the white marker I used yesterday, but even though I washed the tip off, it's still slightly purple, so I went off to my local Michael's to the marker aisle to buy this Posca paint marker. I never used this kind before, so I tried it out in the aisle, and the moment of truth, it was working really, really well. So I'm really glad that I went and tried this new marker out. I think I'm going to buy a full set of them. I really like the way that they draw. They're really smooth. But then I got some more resin. This is UV resin. It's cured with a UV lamp, and I'm wearing it as a helmet. I started pouring the resin, and it told me to smooth it out with a popsicle stick, but it was causing bubbles. So I used a tattoo needle to try to pop them, and that didn't work. But like the other resin told me to do, I used the heat gun, and it was popping the bubbles, but it was also causing this ripple effect. And so I tried to make that happen all the way across it, and it just didn't really work great. But I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying my best. It did cause some heat bubbles, I think from the heat gun, but it did cause this interesting ripple effect down by the water, which I do actually like. As you can see, I left the purple for the ropes on the ship, and that's what it's looking like. I found a spot on the shop wall, and that's where it will live forever. So thanks for following along.